Hello, and welcome back. So let's set the scene. GB News goes on air and repeats a vile, debunked lie about Doria Ragland, a lie that has been dead, buried, cremated, and scattered for years. A lie that has no basis in fact. A lie that targets a private citizen who did absolutely nothing except raise her daughter. The backlash is immediate, the pressure mounts, and suddenly, GB News issues an apology. Not because they found their conscience, not because they discovered journalism, but because lawyers entered the chat. And now, Meghan's team has responded. And when I tell you this statement is ice cold, I mean Antarctic. No emojis, no dramatics, no emotional language, just precision, just facts, just accountability. The kind of language that doesn't yell but echoes in courtrooms. Let's talk about that tone first, because tone matters. This is not Meghan begging for fairness. This is not Meghan seeking approval. This is Meghan Sussex saying very clearly, we see exactly what you did, we know what you did it, and we are not accepting your attempt to brush it under the rug. Right out the gate, the statement reminds broadcasters of something basic, something so fundamental that it's almost embarrassing to have to say it out loud. Broadcasters have a responsibility to inform, not inflame. That's journalism 101. That's the bare minimum. And the fact that it even needed to be said tells you how far certain corners of UK media have fallen. Then comes the hammer. This lie was conclusively debunked more than 2 years ago. That sentence alone demolishes every excuse GB News could try to float. This wasn't confusion. This wasn't outdated information. This wasn't a slip of the tongue. This was a deliberate choice to recycle something they knew was false. That's not opinion. That's recklessness. And then Meghan's team goes further. They don't just call it a lie. They point out the pattern. The recycling, the repetition, the fact that irresponsible commentators keep dragging this corpse of a claim back onto television because Meghan's name still generates clicks, outrage, and advertising revenue. And who pays the price for that? Not the commentators, not the network, not the producers who greenlit the segment. A private woman, Doria Ragland. A woman who did not sign up for the circus, a woman who is not a public figure, a woman who has had to watch lies about her past resurface again and again simply because her daughter married into the most dysfunctional institution in Britain. The statement makes that harm explicit. It names it. It documents it. Recurring harm. Those two words are not casual. They are legal language. They are the kind of words that appear in filings, not fan tweets. Then comes the line that made me sit up. Ms. Ragland proudly raised her daughter and has never been in prison. Simple, direct, devastating. No defensiveness, no over-explaining, just truth. And sometimes the truth is enough to make liars look ridiculous. But here's where the statement shifts from condemnation to exposure. GB News did not apologize voluntarily, but only to escape a defamation lawsuit. Read that again. They didn't apologize because it was right. They apologized because they were cornered. That one sentence strips the apology of all credibility. It reframes it not as accountability, but as damage control. And once that's on record, once that framing exists, you don't get to pretend this was a good faith mistake ever again. And then the mic drop. Because if you're truly sorry, you don't delete the apology. If you stand by it, you don't erase it. If you believe in accountability, you don't pretend it never happened. Deleting the apology doesn't make this better. It makes it worse. It suggests panic. It suggests regret over apologizing, not over lying. It suggests that the network wanted the legal pressure gone, but didn't want the public record to exist. And here's the thing GB News may not fully appreciate yet. Once something has been acknowledged, deleting it doesn't erase liability. It just adds another layer of bad faith. Now, let's talk about what the statement does not do, because that's just as important. It does not accept the apology. It does not thank the network. It does not move on. There is no closure offered here, no forgiveness extended, no let's all do better next time. Instead, what Meghan's team has done is place a flag on the timeline, a clear marker that says, this happened, it was wrong, it caused harm, and your response was inadequate. That's not closure. That's groundwork. And if you've been paying attention to how Meghan and Harry operate legally, you already know this pattern. They don't rush, they document, they let people incriminate themselves, they let institutions show their habits. And then, when the record is complete, they act. Whether that action is a lawsuit remains to be seen, but make no mistake, this statement leaves the door wide open. Because now, if GB News or any of its commentators repeat this lie again, there is no plausible deniability. None. They've been warned. Publicly, in print, with references to prior debunking and demonstrated harm. And let's talk about Carol Malone for a second. Notice how Meghan's team never needed to name her name. They didn't have to. Everyone knows exactly who this is about. That's power, when you don't have to name someone for the message to land squarely at their desk. This isn't a clapback. This is a formal notice disguised as calm commentary, and that's why it's so effective. For years, Meghan has been painted as emotional, reactive, dramatic, and here she is, through her team, being none of those things. Just firm, just factual, just done. GB News thought an apology would end the conversation. Instead, it's now part of the record, along with the fact that they tried to erase it. And that erasure might be the most damning part of all, because when the history of this moment gets written, it won't say GB News apologized. It will say GB News lied, apologized under pressure, and then quietly deleted the evidence. That's not accountability. That's exposure. So yes, if you're sensing lawsuit energy in the air, you're not wrong. This is what legal boundaries look like being drawn in real time, calmly, publicly, with no theatrics. And the UK media should be very nervous right now, because if this is how Meghan responds to one lie about her mother, imagine what happens when patterns, years of coverage, and systemic behavior are examined under the same lens. This isn't the end of the story. It's the moment the record got locked. And once that happens, the next move belongs to the people who came prepared.